Forbidden's Truth, Breaking the Matrix of Control Chapter 2, Legends About Space. Part 1. In the previous chapter, we dared to challenge the very foundation of the worldview imposed upon us, exposing the fundamental lie about the shape of our Earth. We examined the irrefutable evidence of the flatness of water surfaces, the absurdity of the fantastic speeds at which our planet allegedly moves, and the silent yet undeniable acknowledgement of this truth within the most precise engineering calculations used in aviation and ballistics. We even dismantled the myth of gravity, revealing its dubious origins and its role as nothing more than a mathematical crutch propping up the dysfunctional model of a spherical Earth. Each of these revelations has led us to one inevitable conclusion. The world presented to us is a carefully crafted illusion, one designed to mask deeper, more sinister objectives, to enslave humanity, control every aspect of our existence, and strip us of our true freedom. Now that this false foundation has been undermined, now that the veil is beginning to lift, we arrive at one of the most striking, most publicized, and perhaps most painful aspects of the deception: the space program, its so-called conquests and achievements. From childhood onward, through school textbooks, glossy science films, breathless media reports, and heroic tales of astronauts and cosmonauts, we have been relentlessly conditioned to believe in the conquest of space, the first manned flight, the moon landing, the International Space Station, and satellites orbiting high above. These stories, reinforced by seemingly irrefutable photographs and videos, shape our perception of a vast, hostile universe, with Earth portrayed as nothing more than a tiny, fragile dot drifting among billions of stars. We are told that space is our future, humanity's next frontier, and that the billions of dollars poured into space programs are justified by scientific progress and by protection from cosmic threats. We believe it without hesitation, because it is presented as beautiful, inspiring, and backed by facts from the most authoritative institutions: NASA, Roscosmos, ESA. Yet, once we strip away this imposed romanticism of conquering space and dare to examine the so-called evidence with a cool head, through the lens of critical analysis and logic, the grand, seemingly flawless facade of space truth begins to crumble like the cheap scenery of a stage play. The irrefutable photographs, the documentary videos, the heroic narratives, all of it reveals itself to be a carefully orchestrated spectacle, a collection of hoaxes, fakes, and computer-generated imagery created to sustain an illusion that serves those who hold global power. This is not a matter of scientific mistakes or innocent errors. It is a deliberate, cynical deception and illusion with far-reaching goals: the enslavement of humanity, the limitation of its numbers, and the concealment of the true structure of our world. The time has come to strip away the myths, to debunk the legends of space, and to understand that what we are shown is not science, but a high-budget performance designed to keep humanity blind and obedient. To point 1, the falsification of the lunar missions, studio sets, and the missing stars. The most striking, iconic, and perhaps the most brazen deception in the entire history of the so-called conquest of space is the famous moon landing. We are told that between 1969 and 1972, as part of the Apollo program, 6 American crews successfully set foot on the lunar surface, with Neil Armstrong becoming the first man to walk on its dusty plains. These events are presented as the pinnacle of human achievement, a triumph of courage, technology, and progress. Yet, when we carefully examine NASA's official photographs, video footage, and even their own statements through the lenses of physics, logic, and common sense, we uncover so many glaring errors, inconsistencies, and absurdities that the conclusion becomes inescapable: there was no manned moon landing. What the world witnessed was a grand theatrical performance, staged and filmed here on Earth. As we already saw in Chapter 1, a former NASA computer engineer, who worked for the agency for 2 decades, admitted openly that everyone at NASA knows the Earth is flat, and they laugh at people, while her colleagues often joked about the fake moon missions. This is not a mere conspiracy theory. It is testimony from within the very system that manufactured these illusions. Let us examine 12 of the most obvious and irrefutable blunders that expose the Apollo missions as studio fabrications. 1. The missing stars. In every official photo and video from the lunar surface, the sky is completely black, yet not a single star is visible. NASA explains this away by claiming that the lunar surface was too bright, or that the camera exposure time was too short. But this is absurd. On an airless moon, without atmospheric scattering, stars should have appeared even brighter than on Earth. The total absence of stars reveals a staged environment. 2. The waving flag. In the iconic images of the American flag, it appears to ripple in the wind. Yet, on the moon, there is no air and no wind. NASA claims the flag had a support frame, but many photos clearly show folds and motion consistent with fabric moving in air currents, evidence of a terrestrial studio. 3. Diverging shadows. In photos showing astronauts, rocks, and the lunar module, shadows do not run parallel as they should under sunlight coming from one distant source but diverge in multiple directions, just like understage lighting. 4. Unnatural footprints. The astronauts' boot prints in the lunar dust appear sharp and deep, as if pressed into wet sand. Yet lunar dust is said to be bone dry, and in a vacuum it should not hold such clear impressions. To make matters worse, the solace of the spacesuits displayed in museums do not match the patterns of the prints. 5. No blast crater. The lunar module's descent engine should have blasted a crater into the soil, scattering dust everywhere. Yet in all photographs, the module rests neatly on untouched ground, with no signs of disturbance. 6. Wires and reflections. In certain video clips, careful observers have spotted wires suspending astronauts to mimic low gravity, along with unmistakable studio light reflections, classic hallmarks of stage filming. 7. The Van Allen radiation belts. To reach the moon, astronauts would have had to cross the highly radioactive Van Allen belts. NASA insists they passed through quickly, shielded only by thin aluminum walls. But calculations show the radiation dose would have been lethal, especially with 1960s technology. 8. Illogical lighting changes. Many scenes show sudden, unnatural shifts in brightness, inconsistent with the steady illumination of the sun, clear signs of artificial lighting. 9. Green screen effects. Some footage, particularly of Earth as seen from the moon, reveals techniques resembling modern chroma key green screen and compositing, where backgrounds were projected or inserted. 10. Unnatural sounds. Audio recordings of moonwalks contain background noises, whirring fans, pumps, and vibrations that should not exist in a vacuum. 11. Suspicious astronaut behavior. Many Apollo astronauts acted strangely after their missions, avoiding direct questions, showing signs of depression, or even hinting at deception. Buzz Aldrin, for example, has reacted with aggression toward those questioning the missions, a telling sign of unease. 12. Video transmission speed. The technology of the 1960s could not have supported the high-quality, real-time video supposedly broadcast from the moon, raising serious doubts about its authenticity. Taken together, these contradictions cannot be brushed off as minor errors or coincidences. They are direct evidence that the Apollo missions were staged productions. NASA is less a scientific agency than a Hollywood-scale film studio tasked with preserving the myth of a spherical Earth and humanity's triumph in space. The billions funneled into these programs have not gone toward discovery but toward fakery, sustaining astronaut actors, and financing secret black projects. See Chapter 5 that remain hidden from the public eye. 2.2. Why humanity is told that space is empty and hostile, isolation, fear, and the suppression of true knowledge. The Great Dome deception. The myth of an infinite, cold, and hostile cosmos filled with black holes, dark matter, asteroids, comets, radiation, and countless other dangers is one of the most powerful psychological tools of global control. From early childhood, this narrative is implanted into our worldview, shaping our fears, our goals, and even our sense of self. It teaches us to feel small, weak, and dependent on those who claim to protect us from these cosmic threats, while guiding us toward a so-called bright space future. In reality, this is not science, it is social engineering on a planetary scale. Isolation and fear. The image of a fragile, lonely planet adrift in endless emptiness creates in us feelings of insignificance and vulnerability. A human being who believes himself a mere speck in an indifferent void is far easier to manipulate, far easier to turn into an obedient subject who seeks protection from authorities. Instead of questioning, exploring, or striving for freedom, such a person clings to false saviors who claim to hold the keys to survival. This programmed fear is the foundation of control, concealing the true boundaries of the world. The tale of infinite space robs us of curiosity about what lies at the true edge of our world. Antarctica, the icy barrier that may hide unknown territories, untouched resources, and even civilizations concealed from humanity. See Chapter 12. By convincing us that nothing lies beyond Earth except endless, unreachable void, we are effectively locked inside a vast terrarium. The fairy tales of galactic exploration serve only to divert our gaze upward into fantasy, instead of outward toward the boundaries we are forbidden to cross. The true function of the dome: protection and isolation. If Earth is indeed flat and enclosed beneath a dome as established in Chapter 1, then the dome itself is not merely a firmament, but an advanced engineering construct with multiple purposes. It shields us from forces outside our system, regulates climate, and may even function as part of a vast mechanism to be examined in Chapter 7. What we are told are meteor showers may in fact be fragments falling from the dome's structure or evidence of maintenance or repair of its segments. This would explain the predictability of such events and why they are so carefully studied. It also explains the missing stars in lunar photos. Perhaps the stars are not distant suns at all, but projections lights affixed to the inner surface of the dome itself. Distraction from real problems. Trillions of dollars are poured into fraudulent space programs. These resources could eradicate hunger, poverty, disease, and environmental collapse. They could unleash suppressed technologies, free energy, and breakthroughs for all mankind. See Chapter 5. Instead, the money funds an illusion, keeping us hypnotized by dreams of stars while reality rots at our feet. Preserving control and hierarchy. If only the elite can conquer space and protect us from cosmic disasters, then their right to rule becomes unquestionable. This illusion elevates them to guardians of humanity, while reducing the masses to obedient children. It reinforces the global hierarchy in which they hold power, knowledge, and resources, and we hold nothing. Thus, the legends of space are not innocent tales of discovery. They are a multi-layered deception, crafted to suppress humanity's spirit, blind us to the true boundaries of our world, and keep us from awakening to our limitless